What's going on, guys? Welcome along to another video, and I'm back for the second time filming this Yamaha MT09 SP. A couple of ways you can tell this is the SP. The main one being you've got the gold O-rings front and rear, fully adjustable, lovely bits of kit, and then secondly is this colour scheme. As you can tell, this is the black, silver and blue trim, and I think we can agree it looks beautiful. The SP is going to set you back £11,310. Now, in the grand scheme of motorcycles nowadays, that's actually pretty cheap. What I like, along with the colouring and the gold O-limbs, is Yamaha have got black tops to their yokes, black handlebars. We've got clutch and brake levers on this thing. All I would do is take off these mirrors and put on some bar end mirrors, and this thing would look awesome. Well, that's enough talking off the bike. Let's get on it. This SP is brand new. It's only got 49 miles on the clock, so the brakes and everything is going to need a little bit of braking in, but that's still not going to put any dampener on this bike really, because let's look at it. Looking at the brakes at the front, we've got twin 298mm at the front and then a single 245 at the rear. Already, even within 50 miles, these have got more than enough stopping power. Looking at the engine then, we have got Yamaha's 890cc triple CP3 engine. This thing produces 117 brake horsepower and I believe it's 93 newton meters of torque. And let me tell you, 93 newton meters of torque compared to some of the bigger bikes is not a lot, but it feels it on this bike. At no point are you wanting more power. This thing shifts. I love a naked bike, just how compact it feels. Ergonomically, the handlebars are a good distance away, but there's not really much weight on the wrists, so you aren't going to get achy wrists. I believe the seat on this has been redesigned. You can tell by the tank, got nice broad shoulders at the front and then really tapers off towards the crotch, and then the seat is exactly the same in reverse. It tapers off in towards the centre of the tank, which means actually your legs can get nice and tight into the engine and the tank. Sometimes you'll find bikes won't have a tall seat height, but the way the tank and the seat is designed, it forces your legs outward, which can really be a problem for shorter riders. The SP has got 4 different rider modes, and Yamaha are a little bit different. They do it mode 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 being your sportiest, 1 being obviously the max, 3 is your kind of town riding, and then 4 is going to be in essence your wet mode. You can adjust some of the settings. This bike has got quite a lot of tech on it. Ignore the size of the TFT screen, it's about a 5-inch screen. We've got things like slide control, anti-lift, obviously traction control, engine braking. There's quite a lot of parameters that you can change on this, which is nice to see. I've currently got it into drive mode 1, so remember that's the sporty. I'm trying to get out of town. This is the wrong time of day to start cutting around town. You ladies get back, get back. Miss naked bikes. You can certainly have a lot of fun on this bike. Quick shifter up and down, super smooth. Ay, 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 caramba. Just over 11 grand and you are getting one hell of a bike. There are some vibrations. Try and work in those brake pads. Bearing in mind it is at 60. Feel free to do the speed. Handling on this is superb. Oh yeah, daddy likes. We've got LEDs all round. I'm not the biggest fan of the headlight on this. We've got a singular headlight with the old 2 kind of daytime running lights to the side of it. The throttle is so smooth, even in mode 1, just that on and off barely any movement to my body. Makes riding this thing nice and easy, makes keeping it at that 30 mile an hour easy as well. Along with the 4 rider modes, there's also 3 different traction control modes that you can change between and also adjust one of them. So you've got traction 1, 2 and M. M is the manual. That's what you can go in and change. To change between the rider modes and the drive modes, on the left hand side of the handlebar you've got those little arrows up and down. You're going to use that to go between the 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then when you want to change traction control, left trigger finger at the back there's a mode button, push that and then it will change over to the traction control where you can then change between 1, 2 and manual. So right now I've got it on mode 1 manual setting for traction. Like I was saying with ergonomics, this bike has got an 825mm seat height. I'm 6'1", 115 kilos and I'm flat footed on the floor, so even shorter riders will be able to ride this no problem. Zoe jumped on the MT09 standard. She's 5'5" and she didn't have any problems with it. There are some vibrations through the pegs, handlebars, but to be honest that's because this bike is so fun. You want to keep it in that lower gear so you can have maximum fun. I'm not sure if it's standard, but this bike does have this tiny little you can't even call it a windscreen, it's just like an extra bit of fairing behind the TFT screen. It's blacked out, it looks nice, looks in keeping, and I do apologise, I did say this had a 5-inch, I meant a 3.5-inch, my bad. So the screen is tiny, but it does show all the information you need, and it's reverse colour, so it's black background with the white writing. So overall, in this kind of shady day, there is no reflections, there's no dramas. Listen to that stock exhaust. Oi oi oi. Like I said, get in those settings. Change that traction control and you can have some fun. Bow, 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 bow. Tell me why. I mentioned about the tank looking big between your legs. It's not particularly the biggest. We have got 14 litres between our legs. I don't know what the MT09 is like, but the MT10 was one hell of a thirsty girl. And you know what? It's probably because you leave it in a lower gear so you can have a bit of fun. But a smaller tank does help keep some of the weight down, and you can feel it. This bike does not weigh much, only coming in at 190 kilos. It means you can throw it around. It means you can definitely have some fun. Just twist that throttle and up she comes. And it is exactly the same with the MT10. Hell of a fun bike. Every time you twist that throttle, you need to be mindful of what rider mode you're in, because it will just come. Off the clutch or straight off the throttle, doesn't matter. Brakes are really starting to bed in nicely now, and you need it. That front is nice and sharp. It's not the biggest though, like I said. So some of the other top tier motorcycles have got a front brake of 330, 320, 330 twin discs, and this has only got 298 twin. So you know what I mean, that's quite a bit of braking power difference, but you can't tell it. So just because it is smaller doesn't mean it's not just as good. The main things to take away from this bike is you will be left smiling. Doesn't matter what you turned up to on the dealership, this will make you forget about it. She's quick, sounds lovely, even with that stock exhaust, that triple engine. Listen to the whir. This thing's light at only 190. Handles superbly. Some people get intimidated by the MT10, thinking it is a big bike and a lot of power, and it is. Zoe's not keen on it because, like I said, with a tank in the seat area, she actually struggles to get her feet down. This is that perfect in between, with just as much power and fun, but actually lighter, a decent seat height and a good crotch area, so she can get her feet down. And then even someone for myself, say, I'm not small and I'm not light, but this thing shifts. Putting it into mode 4, i.e. rain mode, you can tell the throttle response is massively different. But what's nice to see is once you get kind of past the 5,000, like, there's still a nice bit of punch, but when you're going your slower speeds and obviously potential rain, hence why you've got it into mode 4, it's just easy. It's easy to ride. You're not going to get yourself into trouble. You're not going to start spinning that rear wheel. Put the traction control into 2, which I reckon is probably the highest setting, and then you just go about your way, enjoy your ride, and then when it stops raining, you put it back into 1M and you go for it. I honestly don't think there's much more to say about this bike. It's fantastic. Now, I've not tested it against the standard MT09 because Zoe took that out, but from my understanding, the main differences between the standard and the SP is going to be the colour scheme. Like I said at the start, colour scheme and the O-lins front and rear. This has got quick shifter up and down. I'm not sure if the standard does have shifter, and this has also got cruise control. So there are a couple of bits that I think, bear with me, I think, without doing any proper research, that this has got over the standard. Now for me, when I bought my MT10, I picked the standard and then got the suspension tuned for me. I wasn't too worried about getting the electronic suspension, or the O-lin, sorry, the O-lin suspension back then. I think the standard is just under 10 grand, and this is obviously just over 11. Do you know what I mean? You're talking, what, 1,500 quid? For me, thinking about those potential differences, 1,500 quid is not a lot, especially if you're doing it on PCP over a couple of years, next to nothing. I think this is the best colour scheme out of all the 09s, and I think it just works completely as a whole package. But then again, if you want to save yourself a couple of quid, you get the standard. You ain't going to be disappointed. The engine is just as good in that as it is this one. I've missed having the torquey fun of a naked bike that's got a decent engine. MT10 and Aprilia Tuono were the last two that I owned. They were amazing, but you are starting to get 14 to 17 grand with those brand new. If I was in the market for a naked bike right now that I wanted to have some fun on but didn't blow the bank on, 100% this would be on the potential buy list. Guys, I think you can tell I've enjoyed this one, and I hope you have as well. If you liked it or found it useful, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment below. Would you go for this or the standard? There's nothing else to say, but until the next one, ride safe.